Before Reddit came along and homogenized all the message boards under one roof, you used to have to go to different websites for all the different topics. Bodybuilders, nutritionists, even tobacco chewers had their own website, had their own forum they had to go to. And it was all just an unmoderated, chaotic wasteland. The perfect conditions for a thriving punk online community. Today we're going to take a look back at a bunch of websites that define an entire generation who came of age in the early 2000s. If you were around back then, this is going to be a nostalgia bump of a lifetime. If you weren't, this is going to be kind of a snapshot of a pre-Zucked internet. But either way, this is going to showcase the wild west of 2000s internet. Hey, how's it going? I'm Dan Frampton, and before we go on this little time travel adventure together, how's about you toss a couple likes and pancakes my way? That would really mean a lot. You know, 8.5 thousand people have already subscribed to this channel, but 65% of you have not subscribed yet. That math does not make sense to my brain. Change that. Subscribe today. And obviously the first website we're going to take a look at is MySpace. This was the hub. This was where everyone was at. This is the website that famously let you rank your top 8 friends, and that would cause so much drama, okay? So before Facebook, before any of that kind of stuff, we had MySpace. You could search up your friends, add your friends, do the whole friend request type thing. There wasn't really chat functionality, but you could write on each other's walls, and this website accidentally taught a whole bunch of people how to code, because you can make your profile look like anything. You could have just a song randomly play, you could have a bunch of effects happening, you could change the cursor to something like Hello Kitty's head or whatever. You could do anything you wanted on myspace.com. This snapshot is from the year 2004, and MySpace would evolve over the next couple years. It went from being a place that you could go to just find your friends to being a place that you'd go to find music, the coolest new act, you know, that kind of thing. This is what MySpace looked like back then on November 27th, 2004, and now it looks like this. It is no longer the same website whatsoever. It's actually no longer a social media at all. It's a place where you could go read about, like, Tom York. So that's MySpace now. No bueno. But like I said, there was no chat functionality on MySpace. You could just write on each other's walls, okay? Which is a sentence that nobody even understands right now. But you basically had your profile, which you could do your status updates, which then Twitter would go on to steal and build a whole platform on it. But there'd be status updates that you could update people on. You could tell people what you were listening to. And then you could go to your friends' pages and type something on their wall, which would show up on their profile. But if you wanted to chat, there were a couple ways back then. In my neck of the woods, we used MSN Messenger, whereas a lot of other places used AIM Messenger. Look at this website over here. This is the most 2001 website I've ever seen. But this is what MSN looks like today. Of course, it's just like a Microsoft website. Look at this thing. Not even a shell of what it once was. And like I was saying about MySpace, you could do little status updates, but if you wanted to write something longer, if you wanted to share a longer post with people, we went to livejournal.com. Now, LiveJournal boasted itself as a journal that you keep online. And a lot of people would take that literally and put like really provocative stuff up here without realizing, oh yeah, all my friends are seeing this right now. So it did cause a lot of drama within like social circles back then, because this kind of concept was pretty novel, pretty brand new at the time. And even the likes of CM Punk had a live journal, which is still live to this day if you want to go read CM Punk's live journal. But look at this beautiful website over here, captured on May 9th, 2001, and it's still going. Yeah, look at it over here. It's not quite the same, but apparently it's Russian. I'm signed into the English version over here, and all of this stuff is not English. Let's change it to Russian, see what happens. Okay. Stayed Russian. Let's go back to English. All right. It's good to know the state of LiveJournal in the year 2023. If you wanted to witness the true Wild West nature of the internet back then, you went on to message boards or forums. This one over here, the B9 board, is a very famous hardcore forum where everybody longs for it. You know, there were so many stories back in the B9 days. Now, this was a no holds barred, no rules type event, okay? People were getting bullied all over the place. There were people getting mosh called. There were F slurs being thrown around all over the place. So I think a lot of the time people are looking back at this with rose tinted glasses, where we would change this if it existed today, even if we had to self-police it or whatever. We'd be like, all right, you're being a little bit insane over here, B9 boards. But from what I can gather, there is such lore with this website. There were so many like superstar users of this website where people would just like actively wait for these guys to post. But what is the B9 boards? Well, B9 is a record label, or actually called Bridge 9, and every record label had like a little forum tab on their website where they would connect their community. I think Trustkill was earlier to this thing than Bridge 9, but B9 became the place to go if you wanted to post anything about hardcore. This is what the board looks like today. It doesn't exist. Bridge 9 still exists and their website still exists, but there's no B9 forums. It's a toxic wasteland that nobody wants to go near anymore. But if you were a punk rocker from a small town, maybe not all the bands came to your city, you wanted that merch, you wanted those records still, we went to this website right here called Interpunk.com, where you could get music, clothing, accessories, buttons, stickers, patches, keychains, posters, you name it, we found it here. And yes, this website still exists today. This is what we remember it looking like. It still has the same like vibe and theme and everything, but this is what it actually looked like. This is the actual website. So don't let the current website fool you into thinking that it's just like some old school stuff, even though it's still kind of inspired by it. And like I said, the DNA is all there, but this is the original right here. It's beautiful. Most people know the BME Zine, the body modification community for the BME Olympics, the Pain Olympics as it were. We're not here to talk about the Pain Olympics. I don't have the fortitude or the constitution to handle the BME Zine Pain Olympics. But basically, in the punk rock scene, people like to, modify their body, stretch their ears, do tattoos, that whole 9 yards, split their tongue, you know what I mean? And this was the place to go to see even the most extreme stuff. This is where you can see people hanging from hooks. This is where you can see people slicing their wieners, that kind of thing. And that's not necessarily up my alley a lot of the time, but I would be remiss to leave out BME Zine. And unfortunately, BME doesn't exist anymore because last year the founder tragically passed away. The cause of death is still unknown, but apparently they had MS and died peacefully in their sleep. So thoughts and prayers to them. I wasn't really expecting to learn that today. And unfortunately, without Rachel Larotte, there is no BME. So it's offline forever. And I like how they still have the URL to have this memorial right here. And I must say, their logo, this little alien with the stretched ear, that's an amazing logo. Classic, iconic. And I also couldn't make this video without mentioning Napster, or peer-to-peer file downloading sites. Once Napster came about and we could just search for anything, it was great. But every parody song was labeled as Weird Al. You know what I mean? It was impossible to find the actual music that you were going for sometimes. And then LimeWire came out and they tried to refine it, and then they went under too, and then Kazaa. There were so many of these peer-to-peer file downloading sites that ended up leading to the more sophisticated version of it, which would be torrenting, which still exists to this day. But if we were to go to Napster.com today, it looks like this. It still exists today, but it's like a music subscription service, much like Spotify, but I can't imagine that it has near the features. And now in the year 2023, we basically have 4 websites that do the work of all of that. But it is interesting to note that the concepts, those seeds that were started in the 2000s, are still the kinds of seeds that nurture the internet right now. It's just not nearly as crazy and unmoderated. We got algorithms, and we got people calling people out on Twitter. We got a whole bunch of different stuff now that make it much different. There are some aspects of the Wild West that I miss, but there's some aspects of today's culture that we kind of need in order to keep it sustainable. Of course, I have complaints with how things are today, but I do think overall it is much better now, and I'm so stoked to say that I was here for the entire evolution of it. And in my opinion, even though we got Zuckerberg and even though we got Elon Musk, this is a better internet climate than back then. Okay, if you like this video, you might like these other videos. You can watch those right now. Okay, see you later.